Well, I wanted to jump on my channel here and do a quick little follow-up video to these storage boxes that I added to the wheel wells of my cargo trailer camper conversion, especially for those that decided to go this route. One thing I noticed, and I think is really important, and let me show that to you here right now, is this rubber seal. Now, I have yet to swap this out on the side, and the reason why I want to show you this is there is a gap here at the top. These storage boxes are actually designed to be the opposite direction, upside down. And they go underneath the flatbed of, say, I don't know, a flatbed truck for storage purposes of tools and such. But you can see, being that I flipped these upside down and use them on top of my wheel wells, that this seal has a little bit of a gap here. Now, obviously, if they're upside down, if the water capillaries around this, that it doesn't matter if they're in the correct position to just drip off. But being that I have these upside down, I'm going to have to take this off, and it's actually quite easy to take off and put back on, which I did to the other side. Let me show that to you right now. All right, so here's the other side that I already flipped around. You can see I put the gap at the bottom now. So I took this seal completely off and I put that gap at the bottom. So now, being that I have these upside down, like I mentioned, if water gets behind this, and they have this design so that it capillaries around and drips off, it's not going to hit this gap. And if it does, most likely the gravity is going to pull that water down and over the wheel wells. I thought that was important to mention to some of you guys that decided to go this route. Another thing that I did is I made these little blocks here. It's pretty easy. I just got a chunk of a 1x2 cedar here, put a little notch in it, and it's really nice. Kind of just holds that up, and when I'm done, I can just throw this in the box, and when I open it back up, I just put this little chunk here, and it just kind of holds that up while we're getting stuff in and out of this storage box. So it's been raining all night, all day. Matter of fact, last night was an absolute downpour, so you can see the amount of water on here. But just reversing this rubber gasket, there's not a speck of water in here, so you can see this piece of wood is absolutely dry, so there's absolutely no water whatsoever inside this box here. So I think what I'm going to do here is going to take this back off, put a bead of silicone on the inside of it, and I'm even going to silicone this gap just to reinsure the fact that when I'm going down the road, especially with 70 mile per hour plus winds going down the interstate, that water doesn't push behind this seal. I think after that we should be good to go. All right, before I put this weather strip back on, I put a nice bead of clear silicone around the perimeter of this box opening. And if you haven't used this ISO Quad Max, it is hands down the best caulk that you can get. I got this at Menards. It's not exactly cheap, but trust me, it's worth every penny. And I use the same ISO Max for the white around the perimeter. All right, so I got this weather strip reversed with the gap on the bottom. I put in a nice bead of silicone inside the gap of this weather strip before I put it on. I also ran another bead of silicone on the inside of this weather strip around the perimeter on the inside. It's pretty hard to get over this, especially on the top. But I did make sure that I put an excessive amount of silicone on each corner. There's some pretty good gaps in there, so I made sure that was completely filled up. There is some rivets here. There's one rivet here that rivets on this chain. So I just put a nice bead of silicone here. Now, obviously, there is a hinge here that's never going to be waterproof. I don't care what you do or say, that's never going to be waterproof. Some water is going to get through that hinge, and it's going to drip on top of that opening. And you got to make sure that that is completely watertight so that the water can drain off the sides, especially when you're going down the interstate 70 miles an hour. I'm sure water is going to get pushed in here. You got to make sure that this is pretty darn watertight. And I even put a nice bead of silicone here and about an inch underneath to make sure that the water can drip off onto here and then off and onto the wheel well. And there is another rivet here. Made sure that that was silicone. Now, I can't do much for that hinge, but I can try and stop as much water as possible coming through there. So what I did is I siliconed the top part of this hem of the hinge of the door itself where it's riveted in. And then I also silicone each rivet head. So the only water that can get through this hinge is through the hinge itself. So try and minimize that water intrusion as much as possible. But you know, before I even did all the siliconing and just reversed the hinge, it was watertight. But I want to make sure that this is completely watertight, especially when I'm driving down the interstate at 70 miles an hour. Another thing that I did, just got a nice bead of silicone on the tip of my finger and reached around the back side and covered that rivet head. So there's rivet heads here. I've done the other side. I've yet to do this side, but I'm going to get a nice bead of silicone and I'm going to cover each rivet head as best as I possibly can. Silicone each individual rivet on the inside of the top hinge. Next thing I'm going to do is silicone the top edge of this hinge. Like I said, no matter what I do, water is going to get through this hinge. But if I can try and minimize as much water as possible that gets through this hinge, the better. Really squeeze that silicone in there, and then I'm running my finger over it to really squeeze it in there even further. I just want a nice fine bead of silicone on the top edge of that hinge. Get a nice silicone edge. Same thing here, I'm just doing the bottom side of the hinge, and I'm just gonna flatten out and squeeze this silicone right into that hinge gap. That's perfect. Now everything I do is overkill. I can't help it. There is a weather seal on this, but there is a distinct gap here. Not sure if that weather seal is good or not, but to reassure the fact that this is not going to leak, I'm going to fill in that gap. You can see I just kind of bent some of this, blue painter's tape around the curves. All right, got my bead of silicone on there. I'm just going to push this into that gap. All right, well, this is one box down, one more to go, which is exactly the same. So I'm gonna let this seal up, and we're gonna spray some water on it, test it out. All right, let's see if this works. Try and mirror some type of rainfall. Maybe directly into driving down the interstate roughly 70 miles an hour. See what happens here. I'll let this run for about a minute. All right, I'd say that'd be a pretty good rainstorm. We should try out the other side here. All right, so that's been about a good minute. I'm gonna let that water run off, and we'll check this here in about half hour. Well, here's a moment of truth. Just let some of this water drain off here. Let's see here. Water inside. Is dry as a bone in here. We're good to go. That's awesome. All right, got all my solar charging cables, 30 amp shore power hookup cable, 15 amp extension cord, even have my security cable back here, and even all my 30 LED bulbs here at the bottom, which you can't see, for outdoor lighting, everything. Even got some room to spare there, so that's looking really good. And like I said, I just made this little cedar block. Just kind of throw that in there, and good to go. Yeah, so in this one, I got all our barbecue grill utensils. I got my tray liners for my Blackstone drip pans, our picnic table coverings, and other miscellaneous stuff that goes outside, along with our outdoor rug, and got some room to spare there too. So looking good so far. Well, once again, this is the second installment to this, I suppose, a video series installing these wheel well storage boxes for my cargo trailer camp conversion. And I'll have a link in the description box below for the first installment of this, of getting these boxes installed. This is more about just reversing that weather stripping and getting this really sealed up. Just reversing the weather stripping alone was good enough, but I'm a real anal bastard. I can't help it. I got to overkill everything. Half a caulk tube of silicone later, we're done. So I'm really happy with these so far. I'll keep you guys updated as I use these in the future, but I think so far I'm good to go. Well, if you got anything out of this, scratch my back, and I'll continue to scratch yours with these videos. All right, now you subscribe, like, and share, but I will see you guys in the next video.